You know, they're the worst person in the world. I don't know if they're the worst. No, they are. You know, your flesh is just twisting it to make it worse and worse so you can be victimized. Your flesh loves to be victimized. And so your flesh is a deceiver. It's always ready to lie to myself, to rationalize what I have done and why I couldn't have done anything else. It's always ready to justify me why that was the right thing to do anyway, and I don't know why anybody would have a problem with it. Lying to myself, and certainly ready to lie to others. My flesh loves to deceive, right? But this is the thing you got. The flesh is like an octopus. All right, so I'm going to draw an octopus. It's not going to look like an octopus. All right, so that's the octopus's head. Now, octopuses have a bunch of arms, right? All right, so this is our octopus. Now, this is flesh. There, I don't know. They have a little peak, right? Don't they? All right, so this is your flesh. Now, each of these arms are going to represent one of the ways that your flesh tries to gain control over you, tries to let you not walk by faith, but instead live by your ability to handle life. Okay? So let's just put a couple of names on these different things. All right? Let's say we've got one of these is worry. Okay? One of the ways that your flesh likes to manage life is by worrying about things. Okay? So that's one aspect of that. But that's not the only aspect of your flesh. There's probably more than 8, but we're just going to use the octopus for now. Maybe when things don't go your way, or somebody does something that you've told them not to do, or hurts your feelings, maybe anger is another representation of flesh, where you just get out of control. Or maybe because you can't control what you want to control, you deal with frustration. Okay? And you've tried really hard, but nothing seems to be working, and you're worn out from trying, and you don't know how much harder you can try, and nobody seems to go along with your plan. You know it's the right plan anyway. Frustration, which is an outlet of your flesh. I've said this before. If you are frustrated, you are operating out of your flesh. You cannot be frustrated in the spirit. Because by faith, if I can't control it, God's in control of it. All right, well then you must not call me to it. Faith relieves frustration. The flesh grabs hold, so frustration might be one of those. If I keep trying and trying, and I've gone through anger and frustration, and nothing seems to change, then sometimes what my flesh does is tell me, oh, there's no hope anyway. Just give up. Give into despair. Right? It's useless. It's never going to happen anyway. You might as well just give up. Some people, because life becomes unlivable and I can't seem to manage the pain in life, they'll turn to other things. They'll maybe go to stuff like substance abuse, right? Where I'm going to escape the feelings that I'm getting by opting out, by zoning out, by getting high or whatever, under the influence of a substance. Other people will try to grab more control, so their flesh will start to organize everything, right? And they'll plan out their life to the last detail, because if I can plan it, then I can control it, and my flesh loves to control. So what we talked about on Sunday, where God's in charge of my plans, my flesh wants no part of that. My spirit's like, oh, thank God. But my flesh is like, what are you talking about? I have good plans. God should ask me about my plans, because I can help God. Right? If people have let me down in the past, I might start to live in protection mode, and I just distrust everyone. And everybody's suspect all the time. Because why? Because if I can be on my guard, if I can have my suspicions up all the time, I'll spot that coming a mile away, and then it won't hurt me. I'll be in control. I'll be able to keep myself safe. Right? And let's just get one more up here. If just trust doesn't work for me, eventually I just won't allow myself to be connected anymore. I'll just isolate. I'll just be all off by myself, and nobody can get me then, right? So I've got this octopus. Now, biologically, an octopus with 8 legs. Sometimes octopuses lose a leg. Don't know if you knew this, but let's say worry. I'm gonna get rid of worry out of my life. I'm gonna really, really work hard. I'm gonna give all of my effort, and I'm just gonna cut that right out of my life. Worry's done. I'm done with worry. Do you know what happens to an octopus when you cut off one of its arms? First of all, 7 arms get stronger. So you're like putting all your effort into killing worry, and I'm not going to have worry, I'm just not going to worry anymore. And all of a sudden, everything is setting you off. Right? And you're just mad all the time. And you just can't believe those jerks on the road and why they're such idiots with the things they're doing. Because why? Because I'm working really hard cutting this off, but these are just getting stronger. Right? So I'm not going to worry anymore, but I'll go get high, so I forget about it. That's how I don't worry. It grabs more control. You see what I'm saying? So then, after these other ones get stronger, this one goes back. Oh no! All of a sudden, I'm struggling with worry again. Because I was I'm gonna trust people. I'm gonna make it a point to trust people. Cut that off. Well, now I'm angry. I'm in despair. It's not worth it. I'm trying to organize people and manage them all the time. And I'm gonna get rid of distrust. But these things are cropping up, and then that goes back. The answer is not in my flesh to try to reform my flesh. What's the answer biblically? This is the problem, not the answer. My flesh is the cause of my struggle, not the thing that is the target of my fixing up efforts. That make sense? And what happens is we see this as like God's called me to love people. So I'm going to try really hard to love out of my flesh. I'm going to set aside my self-interest. But all of a sudden my pride starts cropping up over here. Oh, I'm so much better at all these other loving people. Why won't anybody join me on this service project? Nobody cares like I do. I'm the best. Right? So what I've done by engaging my flesh is whether I've cut one arm of my flesh off, I've engaged the other ones. The problem is not that I need to reform my flesh or bring it under control or manage it. I need to kill it. I need to put it to death. I need to not live out of my flesh. I need to live out of the Spirit. It is a transformational thing. Does that make sense? I know I'm just throwing lots at you, and I know it's 8 o'clock, so we're gonna go to Romans 6 quick too. But is there any questions about this? To me, this changed my whole idea in my head about the battle I was facing. Because instead of beating myself up with guilt, because I'm going to feel really bad about all of this, and that's going to make me stop. But all it did, because it was in my flesh, is make despair stronger, or another flesh pattern stronger. Make me put on a bigger front and a bigger face with people so that people wouldn't see my struggle, right? And flesh just comes up with any number of answers so that the ultimate standing of my life depends on me. What I missed was the invitation for God to say, lay it down. Come and rest. I will do it in you and through you. You do not have to hold the weight of your life. Why would you not trust God like that? Because you don't know what Jesus said. He's trustworthy. He sees. Don't you know your Father sees and knows you have need of these things? And the rhetorical answer to that is, if he knows you have need and he sees your need, he is able and eager to meet your need. And if I can put my roots down in that, I can face anything in life. But I can't face anything if I'm trying to do it out of this. This is just going to be one mess after another. The calling for God is to put my flesh to death. All right, so flip over with me to Romans 6, because how do we do that? How do we shift from living out of my flesh to living in my spirit? And I will tell you, this is a journey. This is not a one-class thing. This is not a one-hour thing, for sure. This is an understanding that God begins. We're going to hopefully plant a seed tonight that grows into something big in your soul. Okay? So Romans 6 is a whole chapter about the difference between flesh and spirit. And now with this understanding and with what we just talked about in mind, now let's read what it says. Start at verse 6 and verse 7. Here's what it says. For we know that our old self, and that word old self is the word flesh in Greek, sarx, okay? Our old self was crucified with him, so that the body ruled by sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin, because anyone who has died has been set free from sin. So what's Paul saying about my flesh? Theologically, what's he saying about it? What happened to my flesh? It died. It doesn't feel dead. But it died. Where did it die?
The
On the
cross.
cross. When Jesus died for me, when I received him as my Savior, the Bible says, my flesh was put to death. And now I've been born again. So and what he says is the result of my flesh being put to death is what? He who is dead is, what's it say?
Free from sin.
Freed from sin. This is what this means. Before I was saved, my flesh was all I had. I was a slave to sin. I could not escape it. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the hope. I didn't have the power. I could not escape it. After I get saved, I have the Spirit. I have a legitimate choice in every circumstance to live by the Spirit. I also have a choice in every circumstance to live by the flesh. And God gives me that choice. Think about why God gave me that choice. Why didn't God just literally kill my flesh and save me so I didn't have to struggle anymore? Why would God give me this choice between my flesh and the Spirit every day?
Choosing. To make a choice for him.
Right? I mean, his glory comes when I see his goodness and choose it. Isn't that the best testimony to a dying, lost world in darkness? That he's better than that. So much better. I choose it. And so God makes us the instruments of light, of witness, of testimony to the greatness of our God by letting us live with flesh and spirit and choosing spirit. And the enemy comes along and says, if you live by that faith stuff, we're going to regret that. You better grab just a little bit of flesh, just a little bit of control, just a little bit of protection, just a little bit of you, just a little bit of your answers and your ideas and your desires in charge, just for a minute. Except it's lying to you because it doesn't want to be just in charge for a minute. It'll take a minute and then it'll say, you know what, that worked. Let's keep going. Oh, you feel almost in charge. It's almost there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It's always a deceiver. Right? And so Paul says, when you died, when your flesh died, you were set free from sin. So you don't have to serve it. But then what he says, if you go down further, verse 11 and 12. So count yourselves dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. Therefore, because of that, don't let sin reign in your mortal body so that you obey its evil desires. He says, in order for me to live in the Spirit, I have to count myself dead to sin. What's that look like? What's he saying? Yeah, that's the struggle right there. When you grab a hold of that, then you start to see the power of God unleashed in your life. What he says is, God told me I'm dead to sin. My identity is new in Christ. And so therefore, this sin has no power over me. I don't have to live it. I don't have hope in it. I know better. I see better. I trust better. I'm going to give my life to the Lord. This is not going to control. I don't have to say yes to it. I don't have to give into it. It's not my destiny. It's not my identity. It's not anything to me because I've been set free from it. Count yourself. Account for what God says is true. Consider it to be true. Believe it. Trust in it. Talk about it in your mind. Live it out as true. Respond to the truth. So the therefore that we started with. This is true. I'm alive in Christ. My spirit is who I am. Child of God, redeemed, loved, treasured. I am no longer a slave to sin. My flesh has been put to death. I don't have to answer to it. It doesn't hold any hope for me. All it brings me ever is death. So therefore, I will trust the Lord. And when I recognize some of these flesh patterns showing up and being tempting to me, I have to speak truth to it, to me, so that I stay grounded on, there's no hope down here. This always leads to death. And whatever you want to put on your octopus, or however many legs yours has, all of those things you can recognize. And you know how you recognize them? Because they've led you to death. They've led you to deep darkness, to destruction, to hurt, to pain, to despair. They've led you to death. And that's how, Jesus says, that's how you identify your flesh. And when you identify it, make note of it, because the next time it comes knocking on your door, don't be deceived by it. Because it's going to promise you the world, and it's going to deliver death. Right? So the answer to when we talk about anxiety, the answer to my anxiety is recognizing it as a part of the bigger problem. That my flesh wants to control me. My flesh is a 2-year-old that's throwing a temper tantrum that will do anything it can to gain control of me. Right? I mean, 2-year-olds, well, isn't that basically who they are? Anything they can do, say, act, whatever. They don't care. They want their way and they want it now. Your flesh is like that. And it's brilliant in the ways that it manifests itself, clothing itself in good garb and good excuses and good rationalization. But what it always does is takes you to death. Always, always, always. So you can recognize it, you can learn, and you can grow. When I grew up, I believed that the quest of the Christian life was to knock sin out of my life. The Bible says the quest of my life is to recognize Jesus has knocked sin out of my life. Whole different story, isn't it? To live like what Jesus did has happened. And it's true. Because then, as you read the rest of this thing, it says, so why would you live in it anymore? Right? Don't let sin, therefore don't let sin reign in your body. Why would you, should we sin? Verse 15, should we sin because we're not under the law but under grace? Don't you know when you offer yourself to someone as obedient slaves, you're slaves to the one you obey, whether you're slaves to sin, which leads to death, or obedience, which leads to righteousness? But you're not slaves to sin anymore. Why would you act like it? That's 1 Corinthians 6. That's Ephesians 4. Put off the old man and put on the new. So don't do this anymore, do this. Why? Because you've been made new. When Jesus talks to Nicodemus in John 3, it is, you can't know the Father unless you've been born again. Nicodemus, a Pharisee, believed you could know the Father by doing all the things God said to do and not doing all the things God said not to do. As a matter of fact, if you rewind all the way back to the Garden of Eden, wasn't that the original choice? Wasn't it a choice between faith and self-determination? The tree of life, eat it and live forever? Or the tree of, what was the other one? Knowledge of good and evil. Why would you need the knowledge of good and evil? That's a good thing. I should have the knowledge of good and evil, right? Because then I would know more, and then I could make good choices. I could do the good and avoid the bad. But where's the resource? What was the called resource? Right? So all the way back to the Garden of Eden, it's the very beginning, when it was, will you trust me to lead you, or do you want to be self-determined? Do you want to know for yourself? And so God keeps asking us, will we live by faith or will we walk by faith? So I would say, don't put any confidence in your flesh. Every time it gives you a solution, recognize it, read it, and if you fail and fall, it's part of the learning process. It's part of the growing process. It's not about, like I said before, it's not about eliminating sin from your life. It's about learning how to live in the Spirit instead of the flesh. Learning to recognize your flesh and choosing to live in the Spirit instead. All right? Okay, so the point of tonight, the flesh you struggle against is not being redeemed, but it has been put to death, and you are called to continue putting it to death. Right? Self-effort never will work and ultimately will always bring you to death. Our journey to find peace only comes as we understand what it means to live and walk by the Spirit. The Spirit that we've been made with. Here's your homework for this week. I have two things for you. One of them is a short project that maybe hopefully lasts through the week. I'm going to give you a memory verse. This is truth that I want you to put on a 3x5 card, write on your mirror, tape record, something, memorize it, say it to yourself every day. Isaiah 12:2. I will read the verse to you. Isaiah 12:2. It says this. Surely, surely, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. Now that is the truth. And when worry comes your way, when anxiety tries to swallow you up, this truth invites you to believe something different than what anxiety is telling you. Will you? Or won't you? Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. So memorize that verse. Use that for the week. The other project that I would ask you to do, and again, all of these, in my mind, are designed to get you tuned into the Spirit that God has given you and understand the difference between it and your flesh. All right? So this is what I would say is a prayer project. I would ask you for a prayer list, a prayer book, your journal, something. Make a list of the things in life that you are really thankful for. Make a list. That list can be as long or short as you want it to be. But every morning, somewhere along the morning, thank God for every one of those things. Take a moment and thank God for that, and that, and that, and that. Start your day off thanking God for things that you are truly thankful for. And let the blessing of those hit you. We're probably talking about 5 minutes, not a real long thing, but just enough that you have gotten your hands around the goodness of God. His faithfulness has been evidenced in your life and is still being evidenced, and you are deliberately pointing your attention to that. Then, make another list. Make a list of those who needs God's power for something. Those who are in need of God's power for something. Anything. Someone you know. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're in danger, maybe they're hurting, maybe they're struggling, they're lost, they're wandering, they need salvation, they need hope, whatever. Every night, pray for them. If it's one person, pray for them. For 7 days, get up in the morning, thank God for the things you're truly thankful for, and at night, pray for people that you know are in need. And what you're going to find is, the fruit of the Spirit is love, which means I care about someone else, not just me. And I care about them whether they affect me or not. I care about what affects them. Right? So when I start to engage the things that the Bible tells me the Spirit's all about, when I start to point my attention there, I naturally live by the Spirit. And the flesh is disengaged. It's like if I had a light up here, so a stand light. That light is designed to give off light, but it's also designed to plug into a power source. And it's as though there's a receptacle that is spirit and a receptacle that's flesh. And you choose what you're going to plug into to get that light to go. And as long as you believe that your best option to make that light up is the flesh, you're going to keep going back and plugging into your flesh. You're going to try to live out of the power source of your flesh. But the flesh always kills you. It always destroys you. So the invitation is deliberately plug into the Spirit. All right? Okay, so that's an awful lot of stuff. I'm going to let you kind of digest that. I appreciate you here tonight. Let's close the word prayer and we'll get on our way to leave. All right, let's pray. Father, thank you so much for the work that you have done in us, work that some of us even struggle to realize the full extent of it every single day. So help us as we grow, as we walk, to know what it means to live by faith, to live in spirit, and to not put any trust, not put any hope in our flesh. Father, teach us this week and show us so that we will hear your voice more clearly, that we will trust your heart more deeply, and that we will walk by faith every single day. We ask it in the name of Jesus. Thanks, everybody.
I didn't even look at it.
We had talked about
nicely happy. I'm like, no, this is not how we will meet.
Alright, well, maybe we're gonna do
I don't know.
Okay, thanks.
Arguments or something actually. But if something comes, it's not as uncertain. God isn't made. So right there, it shows up somehow on the state on God. So this is
God's direction, clarity, and that stuff. Oh my word, that's the last thing. I mean, it is
and then as you go through, it's like, I'm really I find it a lot of times I discount this. So it's like the same thing. What this means for
Wow, yeah. About to have coffee. All right, love you guys. Good to see you. All right, we'll see you Sunday, I suppose.
See you guys.
Good job, Dad.
Thank you. Turn this off.
Pastor, self-five.